Hello, everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into the world of autonomous reasoning agents. And we're exploring that in relation to the sphere of governance. Now, as we all know, life is a series of decisions. Coffee or tea? Where should I live? What career should I pursue? What route should I take to work this morning? Life is really a composite of all these decisions that we have to make. Now compound this, expand, multiply by an order of magnitude, and you have governance. All of these decisions that folks who are elected to office have to make day in and day out. Right now, I want to introduce you to Mayor Marlon. He's a mayor of a fictitious town, but even a fictitious mayor in a fictitious town has a lot to consider. He has to balance many priorities at the same time. He has to manage many decisions at the same time. And so he often needs help. Usually he goes to the public through a town hall or he consults his closest advisors. But in many respects, he has to ultimately be the decider in chief. And so Mayor Marlon decides that how he needs to tackle this perennial challenge of governance is that he has to consider all of these various questions that he has to answer. What are the specific needs and priorities of his constituents? What are the current conditions and challenges that are being faced? What key factors should be considered when allocating resources? Which investments will bring the most long-term benefits? What issues need immediate attention, and on and on and on. He has to make decisions about public health, education, infrastructure, you name it. And the questions never end. Now, how does our good mayor tackle these challenges? Well, it turns out that he's quite tech savvy, and he uses what we are referring to as an autonomous reasoning agent. Now, before delving into what an autonomous reasoning agent is, let's backtrack a little and talk about an autonomous agent. There's a subtle difference between the two. Now, an autonomous agent is a computational system that inhabits some complex dynamic environment. It can sense and act autonomously in this environment. And by doing so, it realizes a set of goals or tasks for which it is designed. A step up from that is the multi-agent system. And this is designed to interact with more than one of its kind. So it is a system consisting of more than one autonomous agent that they interact with each other, and they may or may not have aligned objectives. This is useful in many multiplayer scenarios. In our context, we are talking about an autonomous reasoning agent. Now, this is an advanced type of AI that understands complex situations and goals. And unlike the traditional, what we're now calling traditional basic agent that just follows the sets of rules, it can think through problems, consider alternatives, consider ethics, and make informed decisions that align with human values. This is the key difference here. Now, what makes an ARA special is that it's able to interpret and understand the context in which it operates. It's able to adapt and handle multi-step, multi-reasoning scenarios. It's programmed to incorporate ethical considerations and critical thinking into its decision-making process, and it's able to adapt based on new information or changing circumstances or updating data. Very much the same that leaders have to operate with changing and evolving information. Now, there are broad applications for ARAs in governance, in public health, in education, and beyond. But how do these agents make better informed decisions that resonate with our values and our complexities? We'll explore this, but let's go a little deeper, because what we want to do is to bring AI from the sky and make it more practical in everyday use. we're talking about youth engagement in recreational activities. How might ARA suggest initiatives that could help in their personal and professional development based on all of the things they're currently occupied with? How can ARAs be used for forecasting and scenario planning for natural disasters and other public emergencies? How can they collect and analyze feedback after policy changes to understand public opinion and suggest adjustments? Autonomous reasoning agents can accelerate, we think, development by providing more efficient decision-making capabilities. They can facilitate efficient communication and negotiation between intra-government and private and public sector partners. And they can transform the decision-making process by ensuring that decisions are made based on objective data and logical reasoning, rather than the sometimes unpredictable, fraught, and chaotic nature of how we humans tend to arrive at decisions, often just in the nick of time and sometimes not in time. But we believe in order to adapt these ARAs, these autonomous reasoning agents, into our daily lives, we have to configure a framework for the use of these systems. And so we have developed a method we're referring to as the SRCT method. SRCT stands for Socratic Reflective Chain of Thought. And this is how the method itself works. So an ARA system is programmed to engage in a dialogue with its human user. It first asks questions to understand the objective on a granular level. It critically evaluates the clarified objective, it contemplates implications and constraints, and then it formulates a structured chain of tasks to achieve a desired objective, right? So the Socratic reflective chain of thought is really the reasoning process. We're trying to almost replicate how humans tend to reason through our problems and challenges, and we're trying to inculcate that within an AI system. The important part here, however, is that there's an authorization layer inside of the system. So it seeks the human's authorization before proceeding to autonomously execute a task. This authorization layer is important because now when someone says the buck stops with them, it literally stops with that person who gives the authorization to proceed. And so there can be a literal paper trail, for want of a better expression, just to ensure that these systems are being used in an ethical and appropriate way. Now, the benefits of this particular method is that it infuses critical thinking into the task generation process. It incorporates ethical considerations into this process. It aligns more closely with our values and complexities, and above all, it improves decision-making and problem-solving across a range of issues. Now, the road ahead for using these systems is fraught. So there's a technical complexity here. We have to align our language models. We have to train proper language and reasoning models to accommodate these new types of information, to accept and ingest updated real-time data. There's obviously the ethical dilemma of how information is sourced, how it is processed, how it is stored, and ultimately how it is trained within these systems. There's obviously the user resistance and skepticism that happens because, you know, our Mayor Marlon might find that he may not be need to be mayor at some point in the future because there's an ARA system capable of making very complex decisions in much the same way as he would. There are obviously resource constraints also. Many governments, cities, towns, countries may not be able to afford the cost of developing and implementing these systems, although the cost of these systems will trend down over time. And there are also the scalability issues. I mean, we can operate these systems in, you know, single departments or small groups, but how about hundreds of thousands of workers across an entire government? There might be challenges there as well. However, we believe that the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks of using and implementing these ARA systems. Now, there are not many of these prototypes out there or systems out there in operation in commercial use. They might be in private development, but there are not many that we have seen out there in the wild. However, internally in our company, we have developed such a system, and it works it's rudimentary at this point, but it works quite well. So how it works is that you set an objective, you clarify an objective. Once you clarify the objective, the ARA produces a list of tasks. The human then reviews all of these tasks, and if it aligns with what they want to accomplish, the human approves the task. And then the ARA goes about reasoning through the challenge and coming up with the solution to the problem. And so a job like this, which may take 15 hours, now takes about 15 minutes. And there is a more effective, strategic, logical reasoning path towards making good decisions across a whole host of issues. We believe that this is one potential path where we can incorporate AI, not sometime in the future, but today in our daily decision-making processes. And we believe that this area is ripe for innovation, ripe for opportunity, and ripe for the right people to come in and start to build these ethical systems, perhaps using our SRCT method that we have proposed. I thank you for your time, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.